Opening the floor to questions. If you have something that you're curious about, or maybe you're stuck and just want my opinion or Carly's opinion, who's also here co-piloting with me, let us know. We have something prepared. We're going to be talking about adding and removing users once we exhaust all the questions. But please, highly encourage you, if you have a question or two in your back pocket, let us know. You can drop it in the chat. You can drop it in the Q&A. We'll find it, or you can come off mute and let us know what your question is. Um, always like to brag that we're still batting 1,000. No one has stumped us yet. Carly and I are waiting for the hard questions, and so far everything's been just a lob right over the center of the plate. So please try and stump us today. We'd love to be challenged by you if there's something tricky that you are working on. Just confirming that everyone can see my screen, that you're looking at a Sandbox account. And this is our demo version of the software that is available to you. The Sandbox comes with, as you can see, some Sandbox coworkers here, some example information. And Carly just dropped the link in the chat. You can copy and paste that into your own URL field in your browser if you want to download a Sandbox version of our software. Yep, it lasts for 24 to 36 hours. It's great if you want to practice something that we covered today in office hours, or if there's something that you're curious about and want to see the functionality of the software without adjusting anything in your actual Align account. Hop into a demo version of the software, a Sandbox. You can download it as many times as you need. Cool. Well, you're going to get to hear my voice a whole lot over the next 30 to 45 minutes, but I would love a chance to get to know you all a little bit. I see there are a couple of new names here. So excited to get to know you all very quickly. If you wouldn't mind just dropping in the chat what your very first job was. I would love to know. Take 30 seconds and just pop it in the chat. I believe chat is enabled. If you are not able to type anything in the chat, let me know that. Tanning salon, excellent. Cool, cool. Awesome, Don. Classic start, flipping burgers. Great. Okay, one more time, one more call for questions. I would love to field a couple questions from you all. Thanks for joining us, and I'm hoping that you are here to learn some best practices in the software. If you have something that you are curious about, if you see something on this homepage that you want to learn more about, whether that's metrics, whether that's stuff or tasks, please shout it out, drop it in the chat. If there's a specific issue that you are running into and you're looking for a little more guidance and support, that's what we do here. And if not, I'm happy to launch right into our main topic today, which is adding and removing users. But one last call for general questions. Cool, cool. No worries. Well, great. And of course, if a question comes up in the middle of my whatever we're talking about, if it's unrelated, again, feel free to drop it in the chat or come off mute and ask away. Okay, cool. So let's first review you're growing. You came to us because you want a strategic growth management software, which means you are probably strapped into a rocket ship. And at some point in the near future, you're going to be adding employees and you want them added to your Align account. So there's two places that you can go to add users. Number one, right here, we've got it docked right in this left-hand side navigation. It's the invite users tab here. We can click in and immediately you'll see it actually has brought us to the manage users page. Let's see if I can cancel out here. It should just leave us here. Yep. It'll bring us right to the manage users page, which is also accessible from the administration tab. It's this first option. We're already on it. So from here, we can invite users to bring up this little invite users drawer, and we're just going to be typing in their email address. Whoever your new addition is, we add in their email address. We can toggle whether they are an admin or not. And look, I can just sort of, that's it. Toggle whether they are an admin or not. And then when you're ready to send that invite, off it goes. If you are adding multiple users, maybe you're just getting started in your account and it's time to invite the whole team, or maybe you have been on a hiring blitz and you've just hired 5 more employees and you're ready to add them to your Align account, we can just add some additional fields here. You get to set who's the admin, who's just going to be a regular user, and then we send fire away. It is really that simple. They will receive an email with their login instructions, and they'll be set up. They can adjust their password and everything. You all are probably familiar with it because you have been on the receiving end of this, most likely. Cool. Any questions about adding users? We like to make it nice and easy for you. So hopefully it is pretty self-explanatory. But if you have any questions or thoughts, fire away. I will add one other thing very quickly about when it's time to onboard new users to the platform. You've already found us here at office hours, so you already kind of know what's up. If we hop into this question mark, clicking this question mark brings up our help and FAQ resources, where of course everything is broken out by topic. If you have a specific question, first you should ask me because you're on office hours. But if you want to go find it yourself, you can always find what you're looking for in our help and FAQ resources. And if we hop into the Align Academy, I always like to make folks aware that we have uh, a specific training called the Basics 101. So as you are onboarding new users, adding them to your account, if you are strapped for time and you want to outsource that first elemental training of here's how to operate the software, if you want us to handle that, sign them up or tell them to sign up for our Basics 101 training. Unlike office hours, it is highly structured where we actually require folks to download a sandbox version of our software and follow along as we review dashboards, huddles, and priorities. So just like to make folks aware of that. And you can find it right here. There's some pre-recorded training. If that is the way you want to go, just like to shout out that this is a great training. Alexander on our team and myself, we designed this. I'm very proud of it. I think it's very effective. Cool. Let's talk about the chunkier process, which is when it's time to remove users, what happens to their data? So first, I'm going to go check out my priorities page. There's 2 Toms in this system. There's me, Tom, and then there's also, where do I want to find him? We've got Tom Johnson here, and frankly, there's only room for one Tom on this team. So Tom Johnson is going to pursue other opportunities. He's starting his TikTok career and leaving Users Inc. So we're going to be removing Tom Johnson today and just seeing how that works. Maybe the best thing to do is just to talk it out first for a second and say that when you remove a user in Align, there's certain information and data that will be automatically deleted. And so be very careful when it's time to remove a user. There's a little bit of choreography if you want to be preserving data in the software. There's some choreography that you can go through to make sure that nothing is lost. And what I really want to cover today is priorities, huddles, and tasks. So Tom Johnson owns this priority here. He actually owns quite a few. Let's search him very quickly. We can just utilize this little search filter feature on the priorities page. and go take a look at everything that Tom Johnson owns. So here are his priorities. You can see them docked beneath some parent priorities. These are like sub priorities or child priorities. And again, if you have any questions about that, just holler. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 priorities on the priorities page. Let's do the same thing for tasks. I want to see, oh, nope. Cool, just one task right now that Tom Johnson is working on. If he has any completed, nope. So document all of the collateral. And then let's just confirm that he is a part of this daily all hands on deck huddle. Cool. Here he is. So before we talk about best practices, I'm going to go ahead and remove Tom Johnson. Let's see. Here's his what's up for the day. He's got all sorts of information popped in here. I'm going to now hop in to manage users. Tom Johnson, you are off to greener pastures. When you click that trash can to delete a user off the manage users page, it's going to give you this little warning prompt, just letting you know that this cannot be undone. You are permanently deleting him and bits of information that he owns in the software. And just a reminder that you've already paid for this seat essentially. So when you remove a user, you will be able to replace. You could re-add Tom or another user on your team without incurring any additional charge. But yes, we're ready to go. Let's remove him. And he's out. So remember, we saw he was part of that daily huddle. We saw that he had some tasks and some priorities. So let's go hunt around and see what's up. On the task page, it was, let's see, the task name was document. That task no longer, oh, that might be it. That task that Tom Johnson owned no longer exists in the software. It is gone. If we hop into the daily huddle, Tom Johnson is no longer a part of this huddle. His updates, any previous historical updates, also are removed. Things are a little bit different if we hop over to the priorities page. We might actually still, let's see. If I just start expanding, Tom Johnson is actually still kicking it here on the priorities page. And if we expand out, I'm gonna have to actually just go find where he was. Yeah, we can see that Tom Johnson is actually still, his picture is still here. Priorities are of such strategic importance that we're not going to be deleting priorities out of the software just if we remove a user. If we hop in here to edit, right now the owner is still TJ. If we click this X to reassign, which is going to be best practice, highly recommend, and we will talk about that more in a second, I cannot reselect him. It's going to have to be someone else. And I believe I'm correct that we actually can't even save this priority without an owner. Yes, priority does require an owner. So now is the right time to start reassigning priorities to other users in the system. So we'll be able to do that for all of these priorities. Send that one to me. Cool. We will keep talking about this, but any questions so far about what you're seeing? And of course, what I'm about to cover is maybe how to avoid some of those issues where your huddle updates are lost or tasks are locked. We do not want that if those tasks and those huddle updates are important for you and your team to keep in the system. So we're going to be reviewing how we can avoid that. But any questions so far about what you've seen? Okay, let's keep moving. So let's say,
Daniel, did you raise your hand? Did you have a question?
all good. If you do have a question, feel free to come off mute, drop it in the chat. Oh, I see we got something in the Q&A. Cool. Feel free to chat us something or come off mute.
All right, can you hear me now? I have a question.
Yes,
Yes,
we're getting a little static from you, but we can hear you.
we can hear you.
All right. We started using this application this year, and we have a staff who,
Hey Daniel,
resigned.
I'm so sorry. We're actually getting a lot of static from you. It might be best if you type your question in the chat.
Okay. Can you hear
If
me
that's
clearly now?
Oh,
yeah,
yes, that's much
we
better.
can. Fire away.
Okay. We have a staff who resigned some few weeks ago, and for the first quarter, she was part of the priority from the sales team because of I'm in charge of this solution in my company. She resigned some few weeks ago, and the first quarter she was doing well. She has a priority, and now the second quarter she left. So that priority has been assigned to somebody else. So do you advise we delete her from the system, or we just assign the priority to somebody else and move on?
Yeah, Daniel, great question. Thank you for asking that. And it kind of depends on what other information in the software she owns. So as a reminder, so if just like in our example here, Tom Johnson has left the company, we can always hop into this priority and change the owner to whoever we need to. But for other information like those huddle updates, like tasks in the system, what we recommend is before you remove a user, do a quick audit. Check. You can search their name. Like let's say if I'm going to be removing, who am I going to remove? James. So I can see that already. James has a couple of tasks in the system right now. So I would highly recommend reassigning these tasks before deleting James.
Okay.
Similarly, if James has some information in huddles, where are you, James? Cool. It might be useful just doing a quick audit of what exists, if there are any pertinent updates in huddle that he has created. Capturing these in a Google Doc would be a great idea in case it's important to refer to these updates later for the rest of the team. We don't want you to lose this information.
Okay.
So we can say, let's move forward with this, where we are actually getting ready to remove James from the software. I'm going to hop in and make sure that we are reassigning priorities to whoever it should be reassigned to. Great. And best practice, even though priorities won't be deleted, it would definitely be a good idea to know ahead of time who is going to be taking over James's priorities. So it looks like we got 3 in the system. We don't have to go through all of them, but here again, we can reassign them in the software. When this is complete and you've migrated your data out of Puddle, tasks are reassigned, priorities are reassigned. It is now, you are all set to remove James as a user from the software, which I will just go do very quickly. Cool. Any questions on that so far?
That's very clear. Thank you very much.
Awesome. There's one other strategy that you can employ here. If you know that you're removing a user, maybe someone is rotating off the team, but you know already who is replacing that user. This is Carly made me aware of this, and I hope I'm gonna explain it correctly. And Carly, if I miss anything, you can jump in here and explain maybe a little bit clearer. So if we know that, say, Jane Wilson is going to be rotating off the team, but I know already who's going to be replacing her, I can edit her user info. I can't change another user's info, email address. But what I could do is prompt Jane. Just let's say the person replacing her's name is Matt. What I can tell Jane to do is hop into her account and edit her own information and edit her email address to Max's email address, max at testcode.com, and then Max, whatever his last name is, Max Johnson. And when we save this profile with a new email address, we can then reset the password on this user profile, and instead of going to Jane Wilson's email, it will go to Max's. And so you can swap that user out without losing any of the data, without using any of the information. So this is just one more tool in your tool belt to maybe make things a little more streamlined, make transitions a little bit cleaner, without losing any data or having to go through the rigmarole of reassigning priorities, reassigning tasks, etc. You're essentially hot swapping teammates on the fly here. Any questions about that, or any questions about this this manage users page? Cool. Thank you very much. That is the crash course on adding and removing users. We have tons of time left. I am more than happy to take it for the next 15, 20 minutes. Again, answer any questions you may have, but I might also just explore the software a little bit and review a few other of my favorite features. If you all have any preferences, if you're interested in the one-page plan or more on the priorities page, let me know and point me in a direction, and I can just start talking your ears off. I would love to know, for the folks who are still with us, I would love to know how many priorities you currently have on your priorities page. If you can take 10, 15 seconds to go check your account and let me know the total number of priorities, I think this is really interesting information. And it might guide our conversation a little bit. Just go ahead and drop it in the chat. For example, if I hop over to the priorities page, I would not be just counting these priorities. I would also be counting all of these. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus all of these numbers. That would be the total number of priorities in this account. So I'm curious to hear from you all. How many priorities do you currently have on your priorities page?
Does that include the child priority or the parent's priority alone?
Great question. I would include all child priorities. So what we're seeing here, I would open up all of these and count all of the individuals. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would count it that way.
Okay.
And if you are, let's say, over 20, I don't want you to be having to count, up to 50, up to 60. If there's just a ton, you can also just go ahead and write 20 plus. Cool. So I asked that question because a reminder that your priorities page should represent change and growth and scaling. And a lot of folks love to maybe add all of their goals for the quarter. That gotcha, Daniel. Thank you. 20 priorities. That's awesome. That's a great number, I think, depending on how many users you have. So your priorities, what lives on this priorities page should represent growth and stretching a little bit. What are you doing differently? What are you changing this quarter in your routines, in your processes? And a lot of folks like to add the more routine, the more in the business types of numbers. And while there's nothing wrong with that, if you want to clean up, if you want to streamline your priorities page and make sure that it is laser focused on the change in growth that you and your team are working on, there are other places in the software where you can maybe house some of those more working in the business types of numbers. The quickest way to think about it could be a little reductive, but I think it's also there's a grain of truth in this, is that the priorities page is for working on the business. And there are other sections in the software, like metrics, like quarterly actions, that are for working in the business. Priorities on the business, and then something like this quarterly section of the one-page plan. Here are some quantifiable quarterly goals that this sandbox team is working on. Looks like they're trying to generate some new leads. They're generating new customers. They have a specific utilization rate goal that they're working towards, generating some new opportunities. And while this is just a list, this is not super, what am I trying to say? Interactive. Like it's kind of just a boring list squirreled away here in the one-page plan. This is actually a super effective section of the software because we can manipulate this data and display it beautifully pretty much anywhere else in the software. And I will show you exactly how. If we hop over to the company dashboard, we have this KPI section built out. This is a specific feature that you can add to company dashboard, to your own My Dashboard page, or any huddle in the software. And let's say I want to go find specifically, looks like we actually have already added a couple of these quarterly actions here. I can filter by type and pull just the quarterly actions that existed in that list on the one-page plan. And yeah, I want to add a few more here. Now I've got this awesome view of some specific data that I care about. And maybe it's those more routine numbers, those more routine goals that I'm working towards. Maybe it's an individual goal or a team goal, doesn't matter. We can add it to this KPI card and bring it right to the forefront of the software. And as you can see, display it beautifully. It's beautifully visualized here. So I know in the snap of my fingers whether I'm on pace, whether I'm in the green or I'm in the yellow and this needs some attention, or I'm in the red. This KPI needs immediate attention. If someone has a question, feel free to drop it in the chat there. And then updating these numbers, I certainly don't have to navigate all the way back to the one-page plan, back to that quarterly section. When I'm here on this page, I can just click the number itself, update it. Let's say I'm doing great. I'll update to 45. And now, poof, I'm in the green. Same thing here. Cool. Then we can always click in for some historical data to see how this has been tracking over the course of a quarter, and get some specific answers on, okay, to be in the green, I need to be at 330 today, to stay on pace, to make sure I hit my goal of 500 by the end of the time period. Cool. This feature is called our KPI sections, or KPI cards. They are enormously flexible. And just to show that off, we've been talking about priorities. You can actually pull priorities right onto this page. So let's see, I'm gonna go find my picture. Some priorities that I own. I want those docked on this KPI card. And I can even go pull some metrics from the metrics page. Again, maybe I'll grab one that I own. Cool. And of course, I can even drag things around, move things around a little bit. Great. When I've docked my priorities here in this KPI card, same deal. I can actually update the number right from here. I don't even have to navigate back to the priorities page. Cool. So this follow each team member priority, I've updated to 13. If I hop over to the priorities page and I go search and find myself, it has been updated to 13. So it's the same priority, just a different view. Like they're connected. When I update in one place, it'll update in the other. Groovy. Any questions about KPIs, priorities, anything I've been demoing so far? Okay, got an interesting question in the chat. If there's a collaboration on a team call, would this be updated to all team members in real time on the call? Don, really interesting question. I might ask you to come off mute and share a little bit more if this is specifically related to our communication tool, our Huddles feature.
Yeah, my question pertains to, we have weekly calls sometimes, and we have people all over the nation. And if you're pulling this up and everybody is on this platform, is this something that's updated in real time to where you're moving things around and moving numbers to where everybody sees the same thing, like you're on a Zoom call and say you're sharing your desktop with somebody else to see? Is that something updated through a line in real time that everybody sees in the update?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Don, yes, in that when you make an update, it certainly is reflected elsewhere to every other user in the software. It just would require, if you are all looking at the software at the same time, it might just require you to hit refresh.
Okay. All right.
That update. Yeah. But other than that, yes, absolutely. Like if I update this gross margin from 36 to 38, that's a public critical number for the leadership team. If you were to then go navigate to our leadership huddle, you would see it updated to 38.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Just tell everybody that's on the call, hey, update your browser to view the change I just made.
Exactly. That's it. That's
Okay.
all it would take.
So that answers it. Thanks.
Sure thing. And Don, I am curious if you are, it sounds like, you are having team calls. Do you currently have any huddles built out in the software to house
No,
that communication?
no, we're just starting this. I'm on the one of like 4 or 5 agents that are kind of kicking this off
Cool.
with the organization I'm with, and we're looking to see if this can really help us, because one of the higher ups in the company uses this for his own personal organization, and he wanted to see about having the agents in his downline use this too. So they're making an investment in us just to see if it can be a duplicative kind of process and just have exponential growth on the backside.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I love to hear it. And Don, what can I ask? What department you work in?
I'm an agent. I'm a guy that goes out there and just makes some sales, and everybody's kind of the same thing as far as 1099 in this group. Cool. And we're just making sales and contributing to the overall upline we have, and we're looking to grow that number and even bring in other agents in our team as well.
Right on. That's awesome. So let me just to show it off really quickly. Let's hop into a sales daily huddle, where if this is my sales team, me, Katie, Lisa, we can pop in the numbers that are most important to you and your team, Don. So whether that's leads, referrals, new customers, revenue for the quarter, we can just dock those as, hey, these are the critical, the critical numbers for the whole company, but here are the critical numbers that we've identified for sales. So once we create this sales huddle, we could actually create a whole separate set of critical numbers. And it looks like we've also got new logos, but maybe you're tracking the conversion rate specifically. That's, of course, something that sales is going to care about. So we can get basically in a huddle. This is our communication tool, but we can also make sure that you get the right data at your fingertips so that you have the most productive discussion in your huddle. And the way it works is now we've got this update section where we can be prompting the team, you and other sales agents, to be communicating, hey, what is actually relevant? What does the rest of the team need to know today? Let me pop that in. I can even identify, here's my top priority, the one thing that I promised to get done. Let me write it in the system for accountability's sake, and have it captured there. And then I can check it off when it's done, or uncheck it if it becomes undone. We can bring lots of information into this huddle. Your tasks, your priorities. If you really want to dive deep with me very quickly, this is the huddle backend where we can customize this huddle to prompt your team in exactly the way that's going to be the most effective at breaking down those information silos. So like if what's up is a little too general for you, we don't necessarily need it. We could just go add something different.
Yeah, this is really cool. I'm kind of used to just a regular CRM of being able to just kind of keep up with your contacts, who you kind of leads you to follow up with somebody on a certain date. But this is more of a business laying out what you got as potential business on the horizon, and is setting a timeline and putting on the calendar and generating numbers by this, and more of an accountability kind of process.
You're preaching to the choir. Everything you said, I think, is a great summation of why we designed this software. So appreciate that. That's really where your head is at as well.
Right.
Cool. Any questions about what you're seeing here in this sales huddle?
No, it looks easy to readable, and it's just going to be a process of live and learn, and just get there and dive in and make use of it.
Awesome. That sounds great, Don. We always caution, we always advise a little bit of parity to begin with, and this, I think, hopefully applies to everyone on this call. If you feel like you are moving with too much urgency, and you feel like you have to adopt every one of these features, you have to have a full priorities page, you have to have 5 huddles, your whole 1-page plan filled out in its entirety in the first 2 weeks, we oftentimes see people do their thinking in Align by like adding a million priorities, setting up a bunch of huddles, and not actually being able to follow through on a lot of what they were most excited about. So I always recommend for folks to maybe like the first great first step might be to create that sales huddle, Dom, for you and your team to communicate and just practice like making a couple updates, updating 1 or 2 numbers. Maybe that's it for the first 2 weeks as you get used to using the system, or updating, creating 1 or 2 priorities to track as a team. That is more often how we see folks build their skill set and build the right habits in the software for long-term success.
Okay. Yeah, we're patient. We know that just eating the elephant one bite at a time, but we just be a learning curve and just take it under our belt. And this is just kind of a good foundation builder.
I love it. That sounds great. And my last question for you is, what CRM do you currently use?
Several. I've tried several, and I just kind of got to where I was relying on my calendar and my my contact file, and just kind of making notes to myself and using the computer for a ways, but also using my yellow pad. And just going and being old school and writing stuff down as I'm out in the field, because a lot of times you don't have access to your keyboard and computer, so you just make notes and keep them in a safe place and update your information later when you get back in. Years ago, I used to work with an old Mac platform. It's called Now Up to Date Now Contact, and that was really good about putting your contacts and relating to your calendar and giving you reminders to make sure you follow through on a lot of promises made. And it was a really good thing, but it went away. I guess they couldn't keep up with the genesis of the updates to the Mac basis of iOS. So,
gotcha. If you or anyone else on this call makes the jump to Salesforce, you can see that we actually integrate directly with Salesforce. We are able to push some information, some summary data out of Salesforce reports right into Align, so that this number is automatically updated. It's not you clicking in. In fact, you can see I can't even actually click because this number is getting pulled directly from a Salesforce report.
Okay. Yeah, I saw that you do that in HubSpot too, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Those are our direct integrations, and we can connect to a handful of other external softwares through Zapier, which is like a third-party integration connector. If you're curious about that, please get in touch with your customer success advisor, whether that's me, Carly, or Alex, or Zan. And we will be happy to chat it out and see if we can create a viable, if the connection is viable and the software you use exposes data to Zapier in a way that Align can grab it. We'd love to help you get that set up.
Sounds good.
Cool. Great, y'all. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for bopping around and covering a few different topics today. If you have any last questions or thoughts for me, fire away. All right, I will end our time here. Just one final reminder, if you are looking for some extra support, if you need a question answered in between now and the next office hours, you can always click this question mark to access our help and FAQ questions, as well as the Align Academy. All right, thank you very much. Hope to see you next week in office hours. Take care.